So, The Walking Dead just ended its 10th season, and this is one of the longest seasons in the entire show. It is literally older than the pandemic. Okay, it began in 2019, in October 2019, and it was divided in three parts, which I thought was bizarre. I think the producers should have just like made the final six episodes part of season 11, but whatever, who am I to judge? But yeah, the show has been a part of my life for since like I was like 14 years old, and I'm gonna follow through till the end. So the show's history has been a little rocky. There's a reason many people don't watch The Walking Dead anymore. I remember all the hype that has been going on since 2014, season 5 and 6. And then after season 7, the hype kind of died because the show got bad. Like the actual show, like kind of gave up a lot of things that made The Walking Dead good. It traded like a lot of the zombie action, like the actual survivors, for like humans against humans, which I think it's fine because it actually follows arcs from the comic books. So The Walking Dead is based on a series of comic books that I really like. I've read the comics. I think they're actually better than the show. So I like that the show follows the comic books, but in the end, it made for a lot of boring moments, especially since season 7 and 8. So this led to a dip in quality that made season 7 and 8 a lot more boring for a lot of people, and that's kind of like where the hype ended. But I decided to, keep through, watch the show till the end, and I think it's a great thing that I did because since season 9 the show actually got good. Like it actually, I think the show kind of went back to its roots. It became way better. It followed the Whisperer arc from the comics, which I think is fantastic. But also, season 10 is not perfect. Well, season 9 was actually super good. It actually reminded me of what the show used to stand for, and from like seasons 1 through 4, which were the best parts of the show, in my opinion. But in the end, like the show keeps on, following these storylines from the comics, and some of them could have been executed way better, if I'm being honest. So the main arc that season 9 and 10 cover is the Whisperer arc from the comics, which I think it's like volumes 24 through 30, I think. And it is, I think the comics did an excellent job with that. I think the concept of the Whisperers was super awesome. I think it was super scary and creepy. However, in the show, I don't think it translated that well. I mean, in some parts it did. I think Samantha Morton did an excellent job as Alpha, and everybody was great. Like even though Rick isn't anymore in the show, I think all the other side characters did a great job of keeping it going, especially Carol and Daryl, which are awesome. I think they're great characters. However, they have a lot of really strange moments in season 10. Especially in the beginning, I think Carol, like her journey is a little kind of strange because like since season 9, I'm gonna spoil a little bit, so if you don't want to get the show spoiled, skip through the end. If you're like one of the 20 people who still want to watch The Walking Dead, I guess. But yeah, Carol's storyline is like she like Henry dies, her like kind of like adopted son, and she kind of goes like she starts suffering from a lot of issues. She starts going crazy, and that is reflected throughout the show. But that kind of comes and goes. Like and that's something that happens with a lot of the stories in The Walking Dead. Like the producers kind of like adopt a specific kind of like um, arc in the comics, and then they go through it, and then they forget about it, and then suddenly it comes back. I think the show does like kind of a weird job of keeping track of all the storylines and all the characters and their journeys. Like you'd have somebody suffering from like trauma or loss or whatever, and it shows for a couple episodes, then you forget about it, and then it happens again, and then it's kind of weird. Like the characters don't really feel like real characters in some sequences, and that's a problem that's been happening I think since season 6 or 7, but it shows more on season 9 and 10. And I think season 10 also suffers from something that happens a lot in The Walking Dead, which is a lot of filler episodes. I think this season like was a downgrade from season 9 because of that. Even though it has a lot of good moments, like the action is way better with the Whisperer War and how these characters kind of like relate to each other, and there's a lot far more drama than like season 7 and 8, but it still has a lot of these filler episodes, which I think are really bad. Especially like the first two parts of season 10 had a lot of filler episodes, a lot of things that don't make sense, storylines that don't go anywhere, and that shows especially in part C. So season 10C is the final six episodes of the season, like the six extra they added. So with COVID, I think the production kind of like was difficult for The Walking Dead, so they decided instead of making a season 11 last year, They were gonna kind of like stretch season 10 a little bit more, and I thought it was a weird decision. And after seeing the episodes, I thought it was just unnecessary. So back in October, I made a really cringe-worthy video due to my lack of presentation skills and speaking skills, where I explained the reasons I liked the season 10A and 10B, and basically I thought it didn't lack the emotional weight of the comic books. I think season 9 did a little bit better. I think they executed Rick's exit from the show really well, and I think that lacked in season 10. I think it took a dip in quality and the drama, the way like these characters are. And in the end, I think it would have been much better if they just shortened the season a little bit more. If they just did like the 16 episodes and just clear the final 6 out. I thought those episodes were super unnecessary, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them because my last video kind of focused more on the season, why I thought the Whisper arc could have been executed better, and now I'm going to talk about like kind of like the final part of the season. So these last 6 episodes were a little bit more kind of like filler episodes. Like they were all filler. There was especially 3 really atrocious episodes, which is the 2 Carol and Daryl ones, and the one with Princess and like the train cart when they are going to the Citadel. And those were super unnecessary. I think you could have just cut out those episodes and it would have been fine. And the other 3 were actually good. Like these episodes kind of felt more like short films, which I think is good. I think it's good in some way, but it's also like not necessary to the show. Especially, I think the one with Gabriel and Aaron was really interesting. It was super well done. It almost felt like a short film, like with the creepiness and the way they encountered the guy who was in the cabin. I thought that was executed really well, but the other ones, not as much. So now I think to wrap this up, I'm going to talk about the Here's Negan episode. So Here's Negan is the season finale of season 10, and that is probably the best The Walking Dead episode show in years. Like, I don't know how they made such a great episode that stands alone on its own. I thought it was phenomenal. I think Negan is a great character. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is an amazing actor. He gives so much life to the character, and I think his arc is the best thing about the show right now. I think Negan is my favorite character of the show because all throughout seasons 7 through 10, like he shows such a consistent, believable arc that I thought was super well executed. And Here's Negan is loosely based on the comic book. So that comic book essentially shows the backstory of Negan. This is the one. I think it's a great comic that really stands super well on its own. And this one kind of shows more about how he became the leader of the Saviors and how it was done and how he came to meet Rick. Well, not to meet Rick, but kind of like end up in the sanctuary. And the show kind of like follows that same storyline, but also focuses more on his relationship with Lucille, which is something we don't really see in the comic. And I thought it was super well done. I thought that episode gave so much life to these 2 characters, and it was really well executed. I can't express how much that episode made me happy that the show has its quality moments, like after all the filler episodes. So yeah, overall, I think this season had its low moments, its higher moments. I think it did a decent job of kind of like adapting the Whisper War storyline. It's definitely better than the All Out War. I think All Out War was the best, like one of the best arcs in the comic books, and it was the crappiest arc in the show. So I think that I wish they would have done better with that, but I think they got like new producers, new writers, and they made season 9 a great season. And season 10 kind of took a dip, but it still kind of like carries that same feeling from 9. So I'm happy that the show is kind of improving. I think it could have been way better, and I still have decent hopes for season 11. So to wrap this up, I'm going to give my final score. I think The Walking Dead season 10 deserves 75 out of 100. It's like certainly not perfect. I think it could have been improved way better. But, it still has our favorite characters. Daryl is still amazing as always. Carol, too. They also, although they have, like, really, like, I think in this season, like, those characters were kind of mistreated a little bit. Like, especially the last, 2 episodes from the end of the season where there was one episode where it was literally just Carol doing nonsense in Alexandria. Like, she just, like, picks up, like something to cook over at the fields, and then she chases a rat for like 20 minutes. It's probably one of the worst episodes of the season, and then followed by the best episode of the season, ironically. But yeah, anyways, those are pretty much all my thoughts in season 10. And thank you for all for watching. Stay tuned for next video.